With that ending to chapter 967 of One Piece, Roger laughing, crying tears of laughter, and then on top of that his whole crew laughing. I am now more than ever, and this is 960 plus chapters later, years upon years of being invested in the series, and Oda made it that again. I am even more interested, excited, and all around looking forward to finding out what the hell the One Piece could be, because yo, whatever that shit is, I gotta know. Like, is it a box of like world's funniest memes from back in the day? Is it like, what the hell could it be? Polaroids of Garp in a tutu? Like, why the fuck was Roger laughing so much? Was it just about the experience that he had? And I'm not talking about what the One Piece actually is, because Oda already said it's not the journey or anything like that, but what I'm referring to was Roger laughing in particular about what the treasure may be? Or was he just laughing in particular of like, yo, I finally reached it and I did it before my death? Man, One Piece chapters 966 and 967, Oda blew everything open, and I want to say he even said, I had to stop myself because I was almost going to reveal what the One Piece is, and I'm glad he didn't. I'm glad he didn't, because like Luffy said long ago, if I know what the One Piece is, then I don't want to continue this journey. It's about the journey, and I can't wait till that day we get the One Piece. But by golly, oh, this shit is so exciting. Let's talk that One Piece greatness. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. So chapter 966 of One Piece, insane stuff. Oden running in at Roger, getting blown away, which shows that Roger's just on a whole other level. Like, if Kozuki Oden, the man that like, yo, he just, what, a few chapters ago went at it and clashed with Whitebeard for a moment. He's known legendarily, like he did some crazy shit in Wano. He already at that point had been on a lot of adventures and journeys with Whitebeard and them. If he was like a fly, he was just swatted out of existence. Okay, not out of existence, but to see that, I was already like, man, Roger's just such an impressive dude. Until this day, we never heard of him having a devil fruit power. So this is all hockey and raw ability, raw potential, raw talent, raw greatness, baby. So that alone, I was already like, damn. But then seeing the standoff, because we get that clash, which again, just levels upon levels of greatness, to the point where their weapons, Roger's weapon and Whitebeard's weapon, the force was so ridiculous that their weapons wouldn't even touch. That shit alone, I'm like, oh my god, what is Luffy gonna be like at the end of this series? What is his power gonna be? How strong is this dude gonna be if this is some crazy shit that the Pirate King and the world's once upon a time strongest man, if these were the feats that they were capable, it was just the initial clash, and that's what they were doing. One Piece, the power scaling is gonna be astronomical by the end of all of this, and I can't freaking wait to see it. But then even after that, like, I love me some trash talking in battles. And when Roger and Whitebeard both said, yo, lay down all your shit right now, like, give me all your stuff, I'm like, yo, to be honest with you, in retrospect, like, at first when I saw it, I was like more impressed on the side of Roger saying that, just because like, yo, Whitebeard's a scary looking dude. This is a big motherfucker, world's strongest man. So for him to have the balls to say that, I was like, damn, Roger had, but then in retrospect, look how strong Roger was, what he did to Oden, and Oden's first attempt at going at him. He blew him away and stuff like that. So I think it was just all around phenomenal trash talk, baby. Just trash talk, drop your shit and go. And then the fact, which Oda loves to do this, which, oh man, one day we better get all these fights, not better, because I don't know what One Piece will do with all the fights that have been kind of skipped out on, you know, done off screen or whatever, but I would love OVA after OVA of all those skipped fights, from Akainu versus Aokiji to especially that though. Like, yo, these dudes fought like Aokiji and Akainu. Remember, they fought for days on end. What was it, 3 days and 3 nights? And the power went back and forth between like, yo, they're up, and it was basically like a somewhat even match. That shit is incredible. Like, oh my gosh, Oda knew what he was doing with these chapters. He was like, I want to let people know that this story is ending. This story will have an end. You could tell that Oda's gearing things up, and it makes me sad, I'm not gonna lie. Like, a lot of this stuff with Roger made me sad. Every time he had to keep reminding us, like, I'm dying soon, fam. Like, there's no 10 years returning to Fishman Island. I'm out the door in a year or less. And to see just that alone, That was freaking incredible, and I loved it. Then afterward, the great thing about it, which that's just such a show of showmanship of like, honestly, you don't really see that often anymore, especially that it's like, you know, in the media, it's always just propaganda and nonsense, that after all that, they just kicking it. 4 days later, they all just having a good time. Whitebeard's crew, like two of the most legendary crews of all time, the Whitebeard Pirates and Roger's crew, they just all having a golly old time after trying to kill each other for 3 days and 3 nights. And I'm like, that's some real shit. This is where Shanks got those morals. You take it all the way back to the beginning of One Piece when dude threw beer on him and he was like, we gotta fight, whatever. That's just the morals of like knowing when to quit, knowing how to act, and just being a G. Like, that's some G shit, and I loved it. And then we even get little insights into, because there's still plenty of mystery in One Piece, don't get it twisted. Even though Oda is slowly peeling back the layers of the story, little by little, here's more, there's still plenty to go. It raises more questions. When the little conversation between Shanks and Buggy about Blackbeard goes on, that first of all, he didn't sleep throughout the truce, and then I want to say it was Buggy that said, he supposedly has never slept in his life. What the hell? Even Shanks says, like, was it Shanks or Buggy that said he's a monster? I probably Buggy, because Shanks ain't got no fear in his heart. But that just brings more questions. Like, first of all, you know, there's been theories for a while now that Blackbeard, he has like 3 stomachs or some shit. But how is he not able? Like, what? Is it just that he's conditioned? Because you got to think, we don't know exactly what Blackbeard is running off of him. What I mean by that, we don't know exactly his ultimate goals and motives. We don't know if he's partially at that particular time, especially that serious look that he had and everything. Is he running off of vengeance? Is it just, I'm not going to rest a day in my life until I seek vengeance on what happened to, you know, what we assume Captain Rock's being his father? Like, how is he even physically possible? Like, don't get me wrong, there's feats in the One Piece world that we've seen time and time again, but being able to go without sleep, unless it's like some devil fruit ability, which we already know at that particular point, supposedly Blackbeard, I mean, he couldn't have had a devil fruit, but then again, I mean, we've seen him have the, you know, the dark fruit, and then he got Whitebeard's, you know, the quake fruit. So who knows if he had even another ability there, or it's, again, just some primal shit that he's just so filled with anger and hatred and resentment that he was not resting a wink. That really just makes Blackbeard even more interesting, more exciting, raises more questions. Like, we're getting answers, and Oda's like, motherfucker, take these questions now. Then we start building into a lot of the things we've heard before, like with Roger asking about the poneglyphs and, you know, Odin being able to read them, and then even giving us insight, because you got to think, there's still a lot more story to go, because if you even look at the way these chapters, especially 967 when Odin went on the adventure with Roger, there's a lot of points that Luffy like is going to go. Like, the journey was identical if you think about it. Obviously the events of everything that went down, very different, but in terms of chronologically each island and everything, very similar. So I want to say he said the final island, what we thought initially was the final island, Roadstar, that's another place that Luffy's gonna have to, I'm imagining, go, right? I mean, if he's on this big journey, he wants to go everywhere and do everything and become Pirate King, then that's another place on top of, we still haven't seen Elbaf. Like, so Oda added that in there, and again, unless it gets skipped, which I hope not, like, One Piece needs to cover everything. I'm sorry, it's too great of a story to skip out on that shit. So I do want to see, even if it's for a brief visit, even if there's not much there, although despite, like, you know, that's still a hype thing. That's like supposed to be the final island, even though the real final island is a Laugh Tale. That was the title that, you know, Roger and them gave it. But it also makes even more questions. Okay, so Roadstar, cool, that's probably Luffy's gonna go there at some given point, even if it's briefly. But then the thing about the government wanting to hide this, it makes it even more like, who knows, maybe I'm sorry, but maybe it's like the Gorosei. Then again, that would also raise questions. I was gonna say something humorous. I was gonna say maybe the One Piece is a bunch of Polaroids of the Gorosei, like in tutus dancing and shit, and the government don't want nobody to know. But if this treasure is something that Joy Boy left behind way back in the day, and possibly, like, because, you know, I think of like Attack on Titan. Like, remember Attack on Titan, what was in the basement? I'm not gonna spoil, because I don't want to spoil for anybody. You don't know what's in the basement? Cool, don't worry, I'm not gonna. But for the people that do know what was in the basement in Attack on Titan, what if there's a big revelation with what this treasure is? Because knowledge is a treasure in my eyes, and again, it could be just gold, it could be, we don't know what the hell it is. But if it's something like the Gorosei 800 years ago, how are they still around? What sense would that make? So that would raise even more questions. And if this is something that they're trying to hide, that's why they don't want nobody to know about this, like you can't get the poneglyphs or whatever, or maybe it's statues of the Gorosei the way they look now. it'd be a real eye-opener, like, how? What? Or maybe it's statues of people that we've seen in existence now, or maybe it's just pictures of, like, who knows what it is, but maybe it could be some key information in terms of, like, these people have been around for ages, or we're reliving the same era just with different, like, twists or something like that in terms of stuff that happened from the Void Century. Again, there's a big hush-hush about that. We still got so many things, I'm Sama, the big straw hat and all that shit, but whatever it is, I don't know, I get so scatterbrained thinking about the One Piece now ever since that freaking panel in 967. And it's interesting how Roger, he had a lot of the traits of Luffy, and of course, you know, that will that been passed down, and Luffy, I mean, we've just seen time and time again how similar he is to Roger in so many different ways, and I'm imagining by the end of One Piece, Luffy will look somewhat like Roger. I don't know if Oda's gonna go full-blown, maybe the last few chapters I can see him do it, but like, if we get another time skip, I still don't see Luffy showing up looking just like Roger with a big mustache. I just don't see them allowing that, and Shonen Jump for like the last 3 years of One Piece, Luffy, the main character of a shonen manga, running around looking like a 30-40-year-old man, but then again, you never know. But when Roger said, then I'll be Pirate King, I'm imagining is what he said, and they were like laughing at him like, yo, you just like a kid, bro, like, you alright? Roger wanted this. Roger wanted it for whatever reason. Like, you could argue that maybe he didn't have like selfless motives. He just wanted to experience this journey till the end. Obviously, he was going real hard. He knew he had 1 year left, and he was trying, but him even saying that, again, it just shows like, in order to get to that goal, you are, like, for example, to be the people's champion, you got to be put in there by the people. The people got to want you to be there, right? And Roger having that boy-hearted, just like, I'm gonna be the Pirate King, I'm gonna be, you know, great and everything. It's like Luffy, and I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but it was interesting that he didn't finish his sentence, but when they were all laughing, when Roger said, then I'll be, unless he was gonna say, then I'll be the greatest bachata dancer all time, hey! Then that's when Oden is impressed by Roger, and Roger asked Whitebeard, let me borrow your dude for 1 year, fam. Just 1 year. I need him for 1 year to read these poneglyphs. And you can see, I love the narration, and I'm really looking forward to seeing these chapters animated whenever it is, you know, because the way it's being done with Oden narrating it, it feels like such a serious tone. Like, I like the tone of hearing, like, when Oden is describing things and just how impressed he was by Roger and everything. Like, it just gives us a good vibe. And then even the way it felt so serious, like, we were just having a great drink and laughing, and Roger said some silly shit that was, whatever, it was off screen or whatnot. But then, when he even bows down, and he's like, yo, please. And I love that Whitebeard, classic character trait of his, like, yo, my family, you bugging. And if it wasn't for Oden already being impressed by Roger, he probably wouldn't have allowed it. If Oden would have been like, I don't want to go with him. No. But it was Oden that was like, yo, I want to go. I want to do this. And it's crazy because Oden, in a sense, really put it out there that Roger was on another level. Like, Whitebeard was great, and the adventure I had with him up until this point was great. Roger's just indescribable. Then Roger and company take off. They try to leave a treasure behind for Whitebeard and them, but Whitebeard, of course, being a family man, he's like, yo, he got a kid, he got kids, he got a woman there, yo, you better give that food back right now. I love it. It was such a bitter thing for Whitebeard. He's like, yo, we're brothers now, because you know how Whitebeard, his whole crew was his family, a man that dreamed of a family and everything. So that must have been a tough pill for him to swallow, to allow him to go. And I wonder what One Piece, obviously we'll never know, but I wonder what this story would have been like had Oden not went with Roger. Like, if he would have just stayed behind and continued traveling with Whitebeard and everything, could he have possibly helped Whitebeard eventually become the Pirate King? Or did Whitebeard long since give up on that dream anyway? Then we see, of course, Necco and Inugarashi joined the crew, or, you know, they followed once again, which that's already becoming like a little trope. I mean, it's whatever. I mean, it's not the most funniest thing in the world, but it also gives some perspective on, they knew the shit that really Oden went through. They knew what it was like to be standing next to the man, the genius, the greatness of the Pirate King, Goldie Roger. Then the chapter starts to end off with Roger's crew. They at first don't accept Oden, eventually they do. And this is where I start feeling sad, because from this point on, we start getting reminders. Roger's like, he says it casually, I got 1 year to live, we gotta do this, fam. And it's like, you know, it starts getting ingrained, like, man, he was really in a rush to get all this done, because on top of all that, then, you know, eventually he turns himself in, and then they do the public execution. Why he did that, it's gonna be great the day we find out all those details. Like, you see, there's still, even though it feels like One Piece is wrapping up, there's still so many questions. And you see the journey as they reach, I want to say it was the end of the chapter, they got to Sky Island, and we see the big bell, and it's like, starts bringing back, it almost feels like new information about somebody we wanted to know everything about for so long, but it still feels like we're recapping One Piece in a sense, because these are the destinations that Luffy went on, or passed by on his journey. Then we cut to 967, and again, as I was just saying, they continue to go almost exactly chronologically, and I guess that's the exact route you have to take to get from point A to point B, because then we go from Sky Island, then bam, we're at the shipwright, we're at Water 7, we're with Tom and them, and oh gosh, just well, one of the things that kind of I'm wondering, and maybe I missed it. One Piece is a lot of information. I read a lot of manga. I constantly got to remind people, so you can be like, oh, you idiot. Like, fam, I read like 20,000 series. Relax. Frankie met Odin. Why was that, like, did Frankie ever mention that? Like, he met Odin? I don't know if he met Roger or not. I mean, Roger was there with Tom and everything, but the fact that he met Odin, I'm wondering if Frankie remembers that at all. I mean, at the time, Frankie was bitter. He didn't care about pirates. Get away from me. I don't give a shit. I was abandoned. Abandonment issues, fam. I feel you on that, Frankie. But that is a little interesting thing to note, that, like, Frankie met Odin. Like, why didn't he ever say that? Unless he did, and again, I'm misremembering. Then we even get Bink Sake, like, it felt like a blast from the past. It's crazy. Like, I remember, I don't know what video it was, and the way they said it kind of came off as a little bit disrespectful to the series, but we're gonna let it fly. But it really just felt so true. Somebody did a video and they said that Luffy essentially has been, and again, the way they said it was not the most nice, but it is, to a certain degree, it was correct, where he said Luffy has all this time been just kind of following Roger's footsteps. Because then, we cut from the shipwright with Frankie, Tom, then we get like the Bink Sake, then we go from there to Fishman Island, and we even get to see one of the things that we might have gotten a flashback before. I know we definitely heard about it, when Roger was like hearing the sea creatures actually talking, which it makes me really wonder, well, why are these particular people special and able to hear this? Is it, again, something to do with the will of D? Because we know a little bit about it, but we still don't know the full extent of exactly what does that mean, why certain people can hear these voices. I think Odin said he could hear the same thing. And then we get a lot of stuff that, okay, Roger, I guess he already had met Neptune. He runs into Neptune. He hears from Shirley. It was nice to see little young Shirley making the predictions on the ball. I think it's Shirley, right? Where she's making predictions on the glass, fortune-telling Baba ball type of deal. And she's like, yes, in 10 years, you will have a daughter to Neptune and all that stuff. And I mean, it was stuff that we already know. So it was nice to see it from the perspective of Roger and the perspective of Odin, and just getting that full-on flashback of like, okay, this is where Poseidon was going to be reborn. Again, this is all stuff we know, but it was still cool nonetheless, just to see it from a different perspective, especially from some legendary motherfuckers. And again, another sad moment when they like, it's gonna take 10 years for her to be born. And he's like, damn it, I'm dying in one. I don't got time for that, so I guess I won't be able to come back and kidnap her. And it's like, he tried to make a joke out of it, but it is sad at the end of the day. Like, Roger knew he was dying, and this last journey that he had with them, I mean, I guess he made the best of it. He was a man's man. He didn't cry. He didn't whine. He just accepted it. And it was a real eerie feeling, because you got to remember, we're in the Wano arc. Even though we're getting this incredible flashback and revisiting all these great places, Skypiea, all these joints, Water 7 and shit like that, still got to remember that we're knee deep in the Wano arc right now. So when we get Odin returning to drop off Toki at Wano, it's something that he had, like, this intuition thing that certain characters have, again, like how they're able to hear the voices of the sea monsters, the sea creatures, whatever, sea kings. And him getting back to Wano, him not wanting to turn around and look, because he already knew things had changed in Wano. So he had that intuition that things was bad. And of course, at that particular point, Orochi had assumed power, and probably things were really corrupt and messed up. And I'm imagining Kinemon and them probably wanted him to stay, because they probably already seen what was going on in Wano. They're like, fam, you're leaving your sick, dying wife and your children here? Like, what are you doing? And of course, we even get to see Zoe. Just like so many things to say. Like, honestly, this video would be like 2 hours long if I really delve into each and everything. But they could tell that again, they had that eerie feeling that there was something very powerful that was stored on Zoe. Odin saw it and Roger saw it, and then they got the final poneglyph, the fourth road poneglyph. So now they had all the information. They just needed to go to the final island, which that's where it kind of, I guess, differentiates a little bit. I mean, they went to like one more unknown harbor, I want to say, which again, that's probably the next stop that we're going to. But it seems as though Roger's journey was getting closer to being done, opposed to, like, you know, after Zoe, I think we had to go to Whole Cake. So things changed obviously in between these times, and this is where Luffy's story differentiates from Roger's, where it's not a complete, you know, copy and paste of, well, Roger did this, and this, Luffy did the same, this, and this, you know what I mean? You could definitely see that whatever was happening with Roger, you know, the sickness and all that shit, it was getting bad. Like when Buggy faked his I can't go to that island or I'll die sickness, which hilarious shit that Usopp that's so Usopp, man. But you can definitely see that Roger's days were numbered. Like, he looked real ill. They heard him coughing in the bathroom at that particular point. You see the way he was drawn. He looked like a sick man. Like, so his disease, and that just shows what an amazingly strong dude he was, and how I can't even describe it, that he's there dying and he still managed to become Pirate King, because eventually he does become the Pirate King. It's all in the news and everything. He finally crossed up, like, ah! They learned about the Void Century, Will of D, you know, how Wano was originally connected, the ancient weapons, everything, which little by little, again, it didn't take that long for Luffy to learn all that, because they know quite a bit about a lot of these things at this particular point in the story, which, again, I'm trying to see, like, where Roger's story and Luffy's story kind of split apart and they do their own thing. And then that ending, when Roger finally seen the treasure, and the laugh, like, and that's what really makes me question, like, why was he laughing? Was it because the treasure was just something funny as shit? Was it he was laughing like, I actually made it? Like, it was more so tears of joy? And then the fact that he even decided to name this island Laugh Tale, and he said, man, I wish I was born in the same era as Joy Boy. I think, honestly, something to do with the One Piece is really funny. I think that that's why he was laughing and decided to name the final island Laugh Tale, which originally we thought it was Raftel, but it was, you know, Romanized is the proper way of pronouncing it, Laugh Tale. I'm thinking there's something funny about it, whether maybe it's a big box of treasure inside of the most goofiest looking shit, or there's nothing there at all except like a letter that says, like, yo, I just took a dump, have fun, like something silly as shit, which, again, at this point, I don't have any expectations for what the One Piece will be, because I feel as though if I put any expectations at this point, I am going to be disappointed. You gotta remember, this is 960 plus chapters, and whatever Oda writes, so many people have different opinions on what it could be. There's still people holding out that it might still be the journey thing, even though Oda said, no, that's not what it is. It could be just a bunch of treasure. Now we see that whatever it was might have been the thing that caused Roger to laugh till he cried and decided to name the island Laugh Tale, and, you know, Joy Boy's connection into all this and his importance and relevance and everything. Like, overall, these 2 chapters of One Piece were phenomenal. I love them. Don't get me wrong, it hasn't progressed the plot of, you know, Wano right now, and I think we still got maybe one or two more chapters, just because, remember, this is from the perspective of Oden. He has to go back, deal with everything that Orochi did, unless Oda's gonna skip over that and cut to back to where we're at now. But this was just incredible. Some shit that we waited so many years to see, seeing Roger and Whitebeard, the camaraderie that they had. They were like, we don't like each other, we're you know, rivals or whatever, but we'll still have some drinks and chill and shit, and him lending him Oden. I'm curious what you guys think about this. Like, were these, like, not even were these, because we had so many bangers of chapters. One Piece 2019, I'm gonna ask, favorite chapter of the year, was it one of these? What do you think it was that made Roger laugh? Was it the thought of the journey ending? Maybe it was disappointing in his eyes, whatever the One Piece may be. Maybe it was funny, maybe it was goofy. Your thoughts on that? More info on Joy Boy, like, this was incredible. Obviously, you can see a long-ass video, for me anyway. Your overall thoughts and expectations for the One Piece manga in 2020 and beyond. Can't freaking believe it. We've seen a lot. So after this one, though, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links, of course, in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule. Anime and manga for life, boy. Have an awesome day. Peace in.
Enjoy the next ride, but I was the best ride. But I hope you know that